All right, hey pre-calc people. So this is the second video of a two-part video. The first one was adding and subtracting rational expressions. Now this one's called complex fractions. You can see what they look like. I have two examples. That's all I'm going to do is two examples because these are a mixture of everything that's gone on this last few lessons. Last week you did multiplying and dividing and simplifying rational expressions. The first video explained how to add and subtract, and this is a combination of those things. So typically here's what we think of. At least this is how I think of it. I think of these as three problems in one. Doesn't mean they're going to be that many, but this is your thought. So here are the three problems in a nutshell, and then I'll tell you what you do. Problem number one is if there's any, so you can see how this is a big like a fraction within a fraction. The first problem is this numerator. If there's anything up there to do, any factoring, any adding fractions, any subtracting, anything, do it. Problem two, by the way, this numerator got nothing to do. This denominator, that's problem number two. If there's anything to do down there, do it. We have something to do down here. We have to add these two fractions, which means get a common denominator, add. In problem three, take this, divide it by this. Now, we know from last week, we don't divide fractions, we multiply reciprocals. So that's how the problems are going to unfold. Problem one, problem two, divide is problem three. Okay? So as I already said, there's nothing to do up here. 16 over x minus 2. No factoring. It's one fraction. Leave it alone. Let's go down here. Let's get our common denominator, and let's combine these two fractions. As per the first video, when you get a common denominator, you see if either of these denominators factor. They don't. They're not the same. This is the quantity x plus 1. This is the quantity or the single thing x. The common denominator is them put together. Okay, so I switched. So got the common denominators ready, and now we adjust the numerator. The question always was from the previous video, how did this become this? Well, if I multiply that by x, see, that looks like that now. You must do that to the top. Multiply this by x. X times 4 is 4x. How does this turn into this? See, if that got multiplied by that, that times that is that. So I do that to the top. And I must distribute there because when I add these, I have to know what my like terms look like. So this becomes 6x plus 6. Okay, now I'm ready to add those two fractions. I'm going to work down this way so I can do my final answer work over here. So moving this way next. So there's my common denominator, x times x plus 1. Add these numerators, like terms where I can. So 4x plus 6x is 10x plus 6. And the last thing I need to do with that, it's just like within the last video, anytime we added fractions together, if there was any factoring to do before we called it final, do it. And this has a greatest common factor of 2, so I'm going to do that. So 2, 5x plus 3 all over x times x plus 1. Okay, so this is the completed denominator. This part. So we have to do this, divided by this, which technically means this times this. Excuse me, times reciprocal. So, take, wrong color, here we go. 16 over x minus 2 times that reciprocal. X times x plus 1 all over 2 times 5x plus 3. Now, we're going to treat this like it's in a group because remember in the this goes back now to the week before. When you multiply, it's top to top, bottom to bottom, so you just treat this as one big fraction. Let's keep this stuff separated here. There. Unfortunately, the only thing that reduces, now remember to reduce, you got to be surrounded by multiplication. The 16 is, the 2 is. So I can reduce the 16 and the 2. 2 goes in once, 2 goes in 8 times. Nothing else reduces. You're always hoping for like, hey, an x plus 1 and an x plus 1. Nope. So what you see is left. So it is 8x times x plus 1. All over x minus 2 times 5x plus 3. And that's that. That's the end of it. Okay? So I know it's called complex fractions, but if you just think of them as, I've done these problems before just individually. I've done simplifying a numerator. I've done simplifying, I've done addition. I've done division, hence multiply reciprocal. I've done all these things independently. Now I'm doing them together. Okay, just a little bit different perspective, a little bit more work to do here. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm just trying to organize this. I'm so much more used to my big boards in my classroom. But since they both need a little work, I'm kind of going to work across here, and then if I have to, I'll loop back around and work across. So, starting up here, I have 2 fractions to subtract, which means, so again, problem 1, problem 2, dividing is problem 3. Get a common denominator and go from there. 6 and x minus 6 are 2 independent denominators. They don't factor. They together are the common denominator. 6 quantity x minus 6. Okay. The next part, adjusting the numerators. I always do the adjustment in red. You kind of see that. Okay, so how did this become this? If I did times x minus 6. Here's where this is going to get to be a little bit of a pain, because I got to times this by x minus 6. Which means I'm going to kind of use the board space down here. I need to do distributive property of x minus 6 times x minus 6. Which is x squared minus 6x minus 6x again, plus 36. I'll move myself back over here. That simplifies to x squared minus 12x plus 36. Okay? Next adjustment. How did this denominator become this? If I had times 6 there, see? Matches now. So I need to times this by 6, which will be 6x minus 12. And then, continuing, again, cramp for space here, sorry guys. The denominator will still be 6, x minus 6, and then I subtract the numerators, like terms. Well, the x squared's got nothing to go with, so it's x squared minus nothing, or x squared. Negative 12 for the x's. Negative 12 minus 6 is negative 18. X. And 36 minus a negative 12, so that's 36 plus 12 is 48. Okay. I have one final thing, and I'm really going to be squeezing this, I think. Is to try to factor this. The x squared minus 18x plus 48 looks to me like it'll factor. Let me think about this a minute. Just thinking of things that multiply to 48 to make sure this 18 will work out. Nope. It will not factor. It's awfully close, but it doesn't. So, I can erase this. And again, just kind of looking at my work. I gotta look at my work to make sure I didn't make a dumb mistake here. I don't see it. So that's done. For now, that's done. Okay, so let's go to this part. Your common denominator will be 9 times the quantity x minus 2, because these just are independent, doesn't factor, nothing. Plus 9x minus 2. Again, adjustment things here. This becomes this by going times 9. So this is going to kind of stink. That's going to go times 9. Let's see, 9 times 36. 324. And then this 9 turning into this, that happens with x minus 2. So this is times x minus 2. And that becomes 4x minus 8. Okay? So common denominators, fix the numerators. Now I do the addition, which means I stick with the common denominator, 9 times x minus 2. There's no like term to the 4x, so it just goes, and then this will be 324 plus negative 8, which is what, 316? Now I want to check this for some factoring possibilities here. Okay. This has a greatest common factor of 4. That's what I was checking for. So this one's going to go one step farther. 4 comes out, leaving me x plus 79. That's what I was seeing is, does 4 go into 316 evenly? So you can see I took 316 divided by 4 and got 79. And this stays 9 quantity x minus 2. Okay, so that's as good as it gets, and unfortunately none of this stuff reduces in any way, shape, or form at the moment, so here we go. Our final thing is, so here's the numerator, and here's the denominator. We need to divide these two in this order. That divided by that, which means that times reciprocal. So let's write this down here. X squared minus 18x plus 48 all over 6 quantity x minus 6 times 9 quantity x minus 2 all over 4 quantity x plus 79. Some pretty crazy numbers going on here, but that's what happens with complex fractions. They're messy. Everything is as factored as it can be. Again, this is just kind of bothers me. I wish it factored. It just seems like it should, but you know, 3 times 16 gives me a 19 combination, not an 18, and a 4 times 12 gives me a 16 combination, not an 18, so I can't, you know, this is it. Remember times, just connect them like one big ugly fraction. Now we're going to think of this right here as a group, and it's times and times and times and times and times and all that. The reason I highlight all those multiplications is that that's where reducing could take place. Now unfortunately we got one small thing. The 9 and the 6 can be reduced. Because 3 goes in twice and 3 goes in 3 times. And that's it. So this is kind of going to be a mess. So here's this final answer. The numerator, I'm going to put it in a little bit of order. The numerator is 3 quantity x minus 2 times x squared minus 18x plus 48 all over the group. Now I put the 2 and the 4 together is 8 quantity x minus 6 times x plus 79. Boy, what a crappy answer that was, huh? But that's the way it goes sometimes with this mess. So that's the end of this lesson. The first video and this video go together and help you do the adding, subtracting, and the complex fractions, which is a combination of all the stuff. So yeah, that's it. All right, so good luck, you guys. Take care.